So hello everybody. I'm really looking forward to this plant medicine episode, the first one. I will be talking today about an introduction to plant medicines. I will be probably focusing mostly on ayahuasca, cacao, and cannabis. These are the plant medicines that I've worked with quite extensively. But I am also wanting to introduce other plant medicines of the Peruvian Amazon, like Chiricsanungo, that's mostly lesser known, and to start clarifying what actually is a plant medicine and how we need to use them, and why they're coming into our consciousness now and spreading across the world. Plant medicines are a really important part of our conscious evolution, and so this is an introduction webinar to look and explore that. So I really urge you to ask any questions you might have. This webinar will be probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I urge everyone to ask any questions that they might have regarding any plant medicines that they might have taken or are interested to take. This is an opportunity to be interactive. So thank you so much for joining and for coming on board. I'm really grateful. I've now turned on the microphone so you can hear me. And I'm just going to start in the next 2 minutes, just to make sure that we everyone who needs to come on is coming on. So this is a good opportunity if you want to make a quick cup of tea or go to the toilet. I'm going to start at 9:08, and yes, the audio is now on, so hopefully you can hear me now. So I will start the webinar in 2 more minutes. Just let more people come onto into the room that have booked on. And also, if you can, start putting your questions within the chat box during it, whatever comes up. So get some ideas, what you're needing to know, and I will endeavour to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, so I'm going to give it 1 more minute, and then we'll start. Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to this webinar on an introduction to plant medicines. I'm Rebekah, Shaman, and I've been working with 3 plant medicines, which I class as master plant medicines. I've been working with ayahuasca for 19 years. I've been working for cannabis for 12 years, and I've been working with cacao for the last 5 years. And I started my journey off 19 years ago with ayahuasca, which is one of the master plant medicines, known as the mother of all medicine. But in the jungle, this idea of the mother of all medicine isn't that she's the mother of all medicine, as in she mothers all the medicine. She is the mother of all medicine because she understands and knows the properties of all the medicines. She is the plant medicine that can build the bridge to enable humans to understand the consciousness of plants and trees, and other consciousnesses that we can't connect to in our three-dimensional reality, with our three-dimensional senses. So ayahuasca enables us, gives us the codes and almost the language of the plants so that we can decipher them. Now, I want to make it clear at the beginning of this webinar that everything I say is purely from my experience. This is from my own personal experience. This is what I think about plant medicines from my own journey with it. I don't think anyone really has all the answers, and there is no such thing as absolute truth. I think that this is a very unexplored territory, these plant medicines, master plant medicines, and we're the guinea pigs to understand them. So I see myself as a guinea pig, having worked with them, and so everything I'm offering you and sharing with you is from my own personal experience. And can be refuted by others. So this is something that I think comes from a wisdom of working with the plants. So having apprenticed with ayahuasca, the mother and a very powerful plant medicine, what's happened is that she's, as a vine, kind of coming into the consciousness around the world, along with some of the other hidden plant medicines that have been hidden for thousands of years within their cultures: peyote, iboga, San Pedro, ayahuasca, and now for me, cacao and cannabis. And for me, these are the master plant medicines. There's other master plant medicines within the Peruvian asam, that the lesser known ones: Chiric Sanango, Uchu Sanango, Ayuma Catesa, which is a tree. So what do I mean by master plant medicines? Well, all plants are medicine. All plants have medicinal or also poisonous properties, and we have always ingested plants throughout our evolution, and we have used plants for our conscious evolution. So for me, it's almost like comparing it to the tarot. You have the major arcana and you have the minor arcana. So for me, the master plant medicines are like the major arcana of the tarot. There are a few plant medicines, some of which we don't even know exist yet. And these plant medicines are here to really help us shift consciousness, to reconnect us back to nature, to remind us of our symbiotic relationship with nature, and to reconnect us back in with all the other consciousnesses that we don't recognize as within our three-dimensional human perspective and perception. So the plant medicines are the master plant medicines that are here to help us to shift consciousness and reconnect back to nature in various different ways. So that's not to say that mugwort and any other plant medicine that we see growing prolifically around everywhere aren't important. Of course, they're all medicine. But these master plant medicines are really coming into our diets, into our worlds, to shift our consciousness, because the planets are desperate for us to wake up. They're desperate for us as humans to wake up and realize that the behavior and the way we're treating nature and the way we're treating our home is not only affecting us, but it's affecting the other species that live with us: the plants, the animals, the seas. Every living thing on this planet is shared, and the effects that we're having is not only having a massive impact on us, but also on every living thing that also shares this planet with us. So the plants are coming into out of their secluded habitats in order to wake us up to what's happening and connect us back with nature. So some of the more well-known ones, ayahuasca, iboga, San Pedro, peyote, and they're also very they have different elements and different aspects to them. For me, the three most important ones are ayahuasca, iboga, and peyote. These are three medicines that have been really hidden away. One in the Amazon of Brazil, Peru, and Ecuador, and Colombia. The peyote with the witch shoal up in the Mexican highlands, and the iboga with the Gabonese shamans down in Africa. And these medicines come with very strict protocols, very strict rules to when they should be taken, how they should be taken, in what way they should be taken. And these traditions and strict protocols around these plant medicines have been passed down through generations and remained within the environment and within the area within which they have been. And now we're seeing them coming out of these very secluded areas and coming to the West in almost like a desperation to awaken us up to what's happening on the planet and awaken us up to realize that our behavior is no longer sustaining and maintaining our planet for future generations. So we're seeing a huge rise now in people being called to the medicines. It's like the plant is calling us to drink her and to drink them so that we can awaken. There's parts of ourselves that we're missing, and we know that we get this calling from the plant medicine that says that's calling us, that's saying, come and drink me, because we know that there's something deeply missing in our souls, and the medicines are offering this awareness and this reconnection back in. The other lesser, I would say, master plant medicines like San Pedro and cannabis and cacao. Now, these grow much more prolifically. They don't come with any particular rite or ritual or protocol, though when done in a shamanic ceremony, especially all of them done in shamanic ceremony, then you get the most benefit, but they don't have that really strict rules and regulations like iboga and peyote and ayahuasca do. And it's a tradition that's passed down from shaman to apprentice. And this is really essential for the plant medicine to really get the full benefits of her message through, and so it can be easily deciphered by the person who's drinking the medicine. So anyone who has drunk plant medicines will know that one of the first things the plant does is purge out all the toxins, the darkness, the sickness, the confusion that has been building up. And the purging comes through, the release comes through pooing, through vomiting, and this is because it goes down to the parts that other places cannot reach. It hits the very depths of our essence, and really helps us release whatever is holding us back from reconnecting back to nature. So the plants really are here to wake us up, to change our behavior, and become more connected, have a more symbiotic relationship with nature, and to connect more with nature. So cannabis is an unusual plant. It's considered, it's been very politicized, so it's not considered a master plant, but actually cannabis is one of the most important plants on this planet. It's our best friend in the plant world, because we have an endocannabinoid system, and the only plant that properly feeds the endocannabinoid system is cannabis. It also has 25,000 uses through its stalk and its stem and its bud that contains the medicine. So cannabis is a really as a master plant medicine. So there's been no surprise that it has been completely politicized and prohibited because of the power that it holds and the consciousness that it holds. It is an amazing consciousness. Cannabis, when grown properly, when used properly, when used shamanically, when used in the right way, cannabis is an amazing teacher plant. It's an amazing friend for us, and it's an amazing healer plant. And we've been fed and brainwashed into believing that it's a demon plant when actually it's a really useful plant for humanity. And right now it's a really it's a really powerful plant to help us out of some of the serious ecological challenges that we're facing right now on the planet. If we move to a plant-based economy rather than this fossil fuel based economy, very quickly we would see a shift in the ecological and environmental disasters that we're experiencing through using fossil fuels, and very clear and quickly we could clear up some of the huge messes that we've made using fossil fuel and plastics as our main economic driver. If we move back to plant-based materials, so there is a really powerful master plant medicine. And likewise, cacao. In the 17th and 18th century, cacao was considered so precious and so sacred that actually it was used as currency. Cacao beans was used as currency, and the Mayans always used it to commune with their gods. It was used as a plant that would take you to commune and connect with their gods, containing the psychoactive ingredient theobromine, which means food of the gods. And so cacao, by her very nature, is designed for us to commune with our gods or inner god, and is a very powerful medicine. But again, being a very powerful medicine, it has been hijacked by the confectionery industry, and what we receive now is a very bastardized and diluted power of cacao, which is turned into chocolate. But the actual raw ingredient, the cacao bean, is an incredibly important and powerful plant medicine. It's also a natural antidepressant. There's only 2 plant medicines that contain anandamide, the bliss molecule. And anandamide, when released into the brain, gives you a feeling of feeling good, of feeling high, of feeling blissful. And there's only 2 plant medicines that contain this, and that's cacao and cannabis. So these 2 plants are designed to make us feel good. They're designed to make us feel connected, feel blissful, feel happy. And they're very powerful medicines to combat depression and feelings of depression and low and feelings of energy. And that is why we see these 2 really powerful plant medicines being politicized and reduced to a very tiny, limited aspect of the power that they hold. And we're also seeing a little bit of that with ayahuasca, because the more it's coming in from these places and being taken by many people who haven't had the proper training, the message of ayahuasca and the way to use her properly has become diluted. And nature has a very powerful mechanism to show us humans how much we must consume of a plant. For example, an apple tree is laden with apples. So apples are good for us to eat. We can eat many apples and they're very healthy. Most fruit trees are laden with fruit. And this is an indication that Mother Earth wants us to consume these fruits, and likewise with vegetables. Likewise with cacao. A cacao tree is laden with pods, that is laden with beans, telling us that this is an important and this is a medicine. This is a fruit that we can consume on a regular basis. Likewise with cannabis. Cannabis also it grows prolifically like a weed, grows all over the world, and grows only in 3 months, very, very quickly, and is called a weed because of that. So nature is telling us what an important plant this is, for all of us to have, for us to consume in so many ways, and to bring ourselves back to a plant-based economy. But the other plant medicines like ayahuasca, well, one vine takes 8 years to grow. So if one vine takes 8 years to grow, and it takes a few vines to cook up 30 or 40 liters of ayahuasca, then nature is telling us it's a medicine that needs to be taken at very rare times. It's to be taken when most needed, to shift a negative, conscious and unconscious block. And what people have started to do is that they've started to look to ayahuasca for answers. So they're starting to think, well, I'm feeling a bit blocked. I need to make a decision. I think I'll take some ayahuasca, and I'll find a ceremony and take some ayahuasca. But in the traditional Amazonian traditions, people went to take ayahuasca as a diagnostic tool. So the shamans would drink ayahuasca with the patient to diagnose what that patient needed in order to get well, and then prescribe the right medicine. And the ayahuasca would tell the shaman what would be the best medicine for that patient. So ayahuasca was never taken to make some decision or for some particular specific thing. Ayahuasca was taken because you were either sick and you needed some medicine, but you didn't know what that medicine was, and the shaman would diagnose through ayahuasca. Or you would go if you were drinking a lot of alcohol or had some addiction, then you would go and see the shaman and drink ayahuasca and purge and get clean and come out of the addiction. And this is because there isn't much ayahuasca grown, and we are now hitting a sustainability issue in the Amazon, because people are drinking it, but they're not doing enough of the shifting of consciousness once they've drunk. So they're using it as a crutch to keep on drinking the medicine, as if that the next ceremony they're going to get the breakthrough. But the breakthrough comes from changing the way we behave, the way we see ourselves, the way we love ourselves. The change comes from inside. It can never come from outside. It can't come from a plant. It can't come from a teacher. It can't come from a healer. It has to come from us. And now is the time where we need to, anyone who has drunk is sufficient ayahuasca, is now time to shift and make those changes that need to be made, and let go of needing to consume these plant medicines in order to get this idea of reaching a certain destination with it. Ayahuasca helps us to break out of the conditionings, the belief systems that have been holding us back. Likewise with peyote, when we take peyote in Mexico, they only take peyote once a year in ceremony, the whole village, and they have a peyote festival, and whoever needs to take it takes it in that one time. And this is again because it takes many years, decades, for a peyote bud to ripen. And so it's a very sacred and valuable medicine. And again, it's a very powerful heart opening medicine. So once you've taken the peyote and sat in ceremony, then it's sitting back and letting the heart open in daily life. So when situations before your heart was closed, you use the peyote medicine to shift you from the inside out and start working with the peyote. Once it is inside you, once the medicine is inside you, it's already working. It's changing you from a cellular level, and it can only work when it has the space to breathe. So working with master plant medicines is a patience game. It's not about how much you drink. It is not the quantity, it's the quality. It's the opportunity to say, okay, now I've drunk this medicine, now I'm going to sit and I'm going to allow it to digest, to propagate, and to grow in my body like a vine, to grow in my body like a bud, like a tree, so that I can really get the benefits of it. For example, ayahuasca is a vine, so it works like a vine, it works like wine, and a good bottle of wine takes a good few years to mature. So it's about recognizing that you have everything you need once you've done the ceremonies inside of you, but you have to take personal responsibility to make the changes in your own life, because a plant cannot make the changes for you. A plant cannot give you anything. A plant is not giving you creativity. A plant cannot give you a child. A plant cannot give you power and energy. But what a plant can do is remove the blockages, remove the separation, remove the conditioning that are stopping you from being creative, that are stopping you from having a baby or finding a beautiful relationship. So what ayahuasca does is, and all plant medicines, master plant medicines, is that they dissolve the blockages and the conditionings within us, to reconnect us back and realize that we're a part of nature, to empower us, really empower us to stand in our power and to live in accordance to natural law, to live in accordance to the natural flow and rhythm of nature, to become a part of nature again and not apart from it, so that we can change our behaviors and leave a planet for future generations to enjoy what we have the privilege of enjoying, which is a beautiful, amazing, abundant planet full of just an array of amazing animals and insects and plants that we don't even have a basic awareness of the cornucopia of nature's medicine in the Amazon. And yet at the same time we're destroying this cornucopia, this Garden of Eden, and the plants are desperate for us to wake up and make these changes, so that they can thrive alongside all living things on this planet again. So plant medicines have been used. We have consumed plants since we've been on this planet. Our relationship with plants, we've always had a symbiotic relationship with plants. We've always ever consumed plants. But since the Industrial Revolution, what we've seen is more processed, packaged and plastic food. And with this increase in food that is not fresh, is not plant, whole plants, it's not being grown through permaculture, natural soil, this disconnection to nature, this disconnection to the plant world has really severed our understanding of who we are. And so these plant medicines are coming out of their hiding places to jolt us back awake, to jolt us back into recognizing and realizing that we are we are one with nature. We are one with the plants. The plants are here to help us, and we're here to consume the plants. And this very powerful symbiotic relationships needs to be ignited. And one of the biggest issues at the moment that we're having is the political issue around the pharmaceutical industries, because while the pharmaceutical industries hold the monopoly on our health and well-being and reduce our connection to the plants and reduce our ability to ingest plant medicines, the more we're reliant on synthetic and non-plant medicine and non-plant medicines, we're in this situation now where for our health and well-being, we're almost not allowed to ingest plants to get fit and healthy, and it's debilitating us. So anyone who is taking pharmaceutical medicine has to take another pill to offset the side effects of this other pill, to offset the side effects of this other pill. Whereas if we were able to ingest plant medicines, whole plant medicines, in their full form, then very quickly we would be able to heal a lot of the diseases and illnesses that we have, very basic ones. And I will talk more about this on the cannabis talk, but cannabis is the one that I know the most. But cannabis is a really important medicine for us. And if we ingest the whole plant medicine, which is the flower, the leaf, the seed, and we ingest the whole thing, we are going not just the THC particle, but all the terpenes, all the CBDs and the THC. We will become much more healthy. Cannabis contains cannabinoids that feed two receptors in our body, the immune system and the brain. And we're not feeding our brains with good enough nutrition. And CBD is a brilliant nutritional food for our brains, likewise for our immune system. So, people with MS, we're seeing a massive rise in MS sufferers. If they were able to take the whole plant medicine and juice it and use it, we would see a massive, huge reduction in pharmaceutical uses. Likewise, with cannabis, with depression and feelings of suicide. Cannabis actually has a with CBD, high CBD and a low THC cannabis plant can really help people come out of that. So, and this is about taking back our sovereignty. Master plant medicines are coming back into our consciousness so that we can take back our sovereignty around who controls our food, who's controlling our medicine, who's controlling our consciousness. Because right now, every plant medicine is banned. Every plant medicine, every master plant medicine has been banned. And the only one that they won't ban or can't ban will be cacao, because chocolate is so prolific that it would be very difficult to ban it. But what does that say about our society when we ban, when we prohibit a plant, when we don't allow people to ingest plants and come to their own levels of conscious evolution, come to their own sense of self? And the more we are disconnected from the plants, the more we are disconnected from this living world and ingesting whole plant medicine and living material, the more disconnected we become, the more fearful we become, the more depressed we can become, but the more sick we become, the more diseased we become, the more diseased with ourselves, with the way we interconnect with nature, with the way we interconnect with the world. And when we start ingesting plant medicines, when we start reconnecting back in with the plants, when we wake up to this amazing symbiotic relationship, things change very quickly. We suddenly realize how blessed we are, how healthy we feel, how strong we feel from the inside out, how connected we feel when we walk in the park. We can feel the electromagnetic energy pouring off from Mother Earth, pouring from the trees. There's a sense of gratitude and a sense of blessing to be on this planet, to share this planet with these amazing living beings and other consciousnesses that have just as right to and every other than us to be sharing this planet with us. So that's why I think that the master plant medicines are really coming in now at quite a huge rate to wake us up. But we need to take, each one of us, personal responsibility for our actions, because doesn't work. We are not drinking responsibly if you are drinking the medicine and not making and doing the work. Because ayahuasca it's not about drinking the medicine, whether it's ayahuasca or iboga or cannabis or whatever it is. It's not asking the plant to do the work. We have to do the work. Human beings have to do the work, and we have to change from the inside out. What the plants can do, and all they can do is wake us up and remind us who we are. And that's what happened to me in the Amazon when I was there 19 years ago with my teacher, Don Juanito. I trained with him in ayahuasca and other plant medicines that I will talk about in another episode. And what they did was they woke me up to realizing that I was a part of it. Mother Earth is inside of me and I am inside of her, that there was no separation. And once I woke up to that realization, once I woke up to that understanding, I became liberated, because I realized that I now naturally changed my behavior. It was natural and it took some time, but suddenly I didn't want to eat meat that has been factory farmed, that treats animals like they don't have a living soul and they don't have a living spirit. I don't want to use products that have horrible chemicals in them. I don't want to use any products that has palm oil that's destroying the Amazon. I suddenly realized that I can't change out there, and none of us can. The complexity of the problems on this planet right now are so huge that it almost makes us feel despondent to do anything. But the power comes in changing ourselves. And if each one of us changed now and stopped using plastic bags, or stopped eating products with palm oil, or stopped eating meat, very, very quickly things would change on the planet, because it's each one of us making our own change, which is going to sweep and make a big tide of change on the planet. And anyone's listening to this webinar and is living in the Western world, we've won the postcode lottery of life. We are the most blessed at the moment where we're living. And it hasn't always been like that. The postcode lottery of life changes and shifts through the centuries. But right now, if we live in the West, right now we've won the postcode lottery, which gives us the incredible privilege to recognize that what an amazing planet. We've got the money, we've got the house, we've got the hot water and the cold water and the fridge and everything we need. The desire is no longer there to need it, because we have it naturally, and already most people do. So for us, the shift comes from us, because we realize now that the way we interact with the planet is having a vital effect on the unfolding planetary story. So right now, each one of us is having a major impact on what's going to happen next on this planet. Never before on the history of planet Earth has each one of us had such an important, powerful part to play, because we're so interconnected. We're so interconnected from the internet, from globally. Like, there's people from all over the world listening to this webinar. So we really we really are so connected, and we can inspire each other and help each other and support each other. And anyone that is thinking of doing plant medicines or has done plant medicines, this is it's time to wake up and realize that those plant medicines aren't going to change you. You have to change you. You have to be the change. And by doing that, you change the things in your life that no longer are harming and creating the same problems over and over again. It's almost like we have to make a decision whether we're going to be part of the cure and part of the disease. And anyone who's drinking ayahuasca and other plant medicines appropriately are realizing that they can no longer be part of the disease anymore, that they have to be part of the cure. They have to be part of the solution. And this, for me, is the power of plant medicines. So you have like iboga, ayahuasca, peyote, that are really waking us up on a very deep consciousness level. You have cannabis and some of the other plant medicines that are waking us up, like really helping us medicinally, feeding our immune systems, keeping us strong and healthy, and also enabling us to use these plants to create more plant-based sustainable materials. And then you have cacao, which is an incredible natural antidepressant that's also coming out of her hiding place under confectionery, and really being used now as a way of elevating our moods, elevating ourselves, and feeling really blissed out. And like I said, cacao is at the moment the only plant medicine that isn't illegal, that hasn't been prohibited, and that hasn't been banned. And that is because they don't think it's psychoactive, but every plant has its own psychoactive proponent. Every plant has its own psychoactive elements to it. And cacao has in its own way a psychoactive element to it. And that's the power of plants. Their psychoactive element is that the very element that shifts us out of our consciousness, of our very limited three-dimensional consciousness, and brings us into a wider framework that we can't see without the plant medicines. So imagining it's a radio frequency, and we are tuned into a very limited three-dimensional radio frequency. And when we take these plant medicines, cannabis, ayahuasca, iboga, San Pedro, peyote, Chiricsanungo, Ayuma Corteza, many of these, it shifts the dial to other frequencies that we don't have an access to experience while we're stuck in a three-dimensional limited perception. And once our dial moves to a bigger, wider frequency, and we can start communicating with the plants and start communicating with the trees and communicating with the animals and the sea and all living things, that's when things start changing within. Because once we realize that it's all within us, once we realize that every living thing is within us, once we ingest those plants and we feel them growing and expanding and teaching from within, then our behavior naturally changes. So I'm going to take a few questions now. There's been quite a few. So Amelia's written, I have been very resistant to taking ayahuasca, partly out of fear, but also because it feels like a bit of a quick fix. Shouldn't we be trying to raise our consciousness through more sustainable practice such as meditation? So that's a really interesting and a very important question. So personally, if ayahuasca is calling you, not because you heard it from a friend or because you read it somewhere or because everyone around you is taking it, but because you have feeling a deep desire and need, and it's like a deep calling to take her, it's because her medicine is something that you need. But she is a medicine, and not everyone needs ayahuasca medicine, and it's not for everyone. And meditation and mindfulness are as equally important as taking plant medicines. I am a Vipassana meditator. I have meditated for many years with Vipassana. I still meditate with Vipassana. And I find that for me, I wouldn't do one without the other. For me, they are like two arms to my body. I think without a deep meditation practice is that you don't get the full benefits of the plant medicines. I think a meditation practice is essential for day-to-day living. Really essential. I've been doing Vipassana meditation since 1994 for many, many years, and it's been a very, very strong part of who I am, and my consciousness practice has been through Vipassana. But the plant medicines reconnected me back to understanding who I am. And however much I sat Vipassana, I don't think that I would have reached that realization like I did with the plant medicines, but that was my journey. And I don't think ayahuasca is for everybody. I think it's a medicine, and this is a big problem with it being so prolifically available, because when it's not prolifically available and you had to find it and you had to search and it had to come through to you in a very magical way, you knew that it was calling you, and there was a magic to it and a synchronicity to it. And that's how it should work with plant medicines, that you have a synchronicity, a calling, and then suddenly this connects and that connects, and before you know it, everything connects. But with ayahuasca, if you're taking any of these really powerful plant medicines that are coming out from the Amazon or the peyote or the iboga, you need to have done proper dieta prior to that. You need to have cleaned your body, be very, very ready for it, know why you're going, make sure that the shaman is a shaman and is holding ceremony properly to do your work. Because anyone who's just gone to the Amazon for a few times and taken a few and then brought ayahuasca back, it takes years to do training. I didn't, it took 9 years for me to, after my first, to have my second load of training. And it really wasn't until I brought my mother 14 years later that the ayahuasca gave me permission to start taking people into the Amazon to drink. So if you're feeling that it's going to give you a quick fix, or that if you take it, you're suddenly going to feel a lot better, I would not take ayahuasca. I would go and do a Vipassana meditation retreat, or I would go to a mindfulness retreat. Ayahuasca is really for people who are being very deeply, deeply called on a soul level to shift some unconscious separation blocks that they're ready to shift. I haven't taken ayahuasca, but I have seen friends' auras being very damaged after ceremonies where the shaman hasn't protected people's energy systems, and they have been left open for months after, way too open to negative entities and spirits. Would a good shaman protect people's energy fields from such? Well, yes, of course. I mean, a shaman who's taking ayahuasca protects from all levels, on all dimensions, and processes, and make sure that everyone is getting the most out of the medicine. And yes, if it's not done properly and there isn't enough guidance and there isn't enough support, and the shaman doesn't really know what they're doing, and that's what I mean, it takes years to study it, to understand the subtleties of ayahuasca. And she showed me herself as an iceberg, and she said most people just see the very tip and they're missing this huge part of me that is bottomless. You'll never get to the bottom of me. However much you drink, you'll never fully understand me, because I am a bottomless pool of wealth and wisdom. But most people are only using the tip of me, like the tip of the iceberg, and I'm not able to get my message across as strongly because people aren't using me properly. So yes, that's why I say, if you're going to do ayahuasca or any grace, and make sure that the person's been trained by an indigenous person, that they know what they're doing, and that they are living what they're preaching, what they're talking about, that they're really that they really know, that they're really connected in with the medicine and they know what they're doing. How to identify a good shaman? Well, just look at their background, their story, how long they've been doing it for, where they've been doing it, who they've trained with, what's their lineage. You need to ask these questions. If you go to a ceremony, the shaman should know exactly what's in the medicine, how it was cooked up. No shaman would just give medicine, because you communicate and work directly with the plants. So you would have to, the shaman would know everything about the plant, how it was cooked, how it was prepared, what was in it. And if people don't know that, or they're unsure, or you feel there's a chaotic energy, personally I wouldn't take it, because it means that the space isn't being held. Also, I really wouldn't take a ceremony if there's more than 15 people in it. 15, maximum 20. If there's more than 20 people, you're not going to be looked after like you're needing to be looked after. I don't take more than 8 people into the Amazon. That is because I feel that that's enough, 8, so I can give one-to-one processing and attention throughout the ceremony. And that is a lot if people are really going through things. And so for me, ayahuasca ceremonies, even when I trained with the shaman, we never had more than 8 people in our ceremonies. They were always very, very small, very intimate. And that was so that the shaman can protect the participants from any external influences, spirits and stuff like that. And if there's more than 15, 20 people in it, and certainly one shaman can even deal with all of that, then it's becoming, there's not enough protection in the space. Would you ever consider taking an apprentice? I don't do apprenticeships, because I feel that you need to find it from in your own self. I think you need to, if you're looking for a shaman or you're looking for a teacher, then when you're ready, the teacher appears. And this really is an age-old knowing about that. But really, when you're ready, it really does work like that. When you're really fully ready and really ready to surrender, the right teachers appears. The thing is not to look for what you expect of a teacher, because very often a teacher can come in a disguise that isn't exactly what you were thinking. So don't ever judge a book by its cover. Sometimes we kind of have this exotic idea of a shaman and indigenous, and we want this kind of teacher. But actually, a teacher could be someone very close to us, or someone that can teach us about ourselves, or show us our shadow side, or show us our dark side. And these are very powerful teachers. I actually think everyone is a teacher to us in some way or another. So we're looking for that one definitive teacher that's going to guide you on. That is something that would need to be put out in intention, and when ready, it comes. But very often we wait and wait, and all these teachers are coming, and we don't see them because they don't fit the dream of how we want a teacher to look. So I would open up, if you're looking for a teacher, then is opening up your heart and maybe finding that the teacher that you're looking for is actually closer to home. Can ayahuasca cure cancer? No. Ayahuasca cannot cure cancer. Cannabis can cure cancer. Cannabis is a well-known cancer cure, which we'll talk about more on the cannabis session. Ayahuasca helps us to reconnect back to nature, to release ourselves from addictions, often created by our disconnection to nature and our disconnection to ourselves and humanity and the natural world. So what ayahuasca does is that it connects us back in. It doesn't cure a particular disease. So like I mentioned before, in the traditional Amazonian ceremonies, we would drink ayahuasca to diagnose what the illness was and what plant medicine that person needed to take. So you would drink ayahuasca in a ceremony, and then the next day the shaman would go out and harvest the medicine for that illness. So if you had cancer, for example, you would go to the shaman, you would drink ayahuasca, and then the shaman would say, okay, you need this medicine to help you with your disease, with your sickness. Now we need to remember that at the time when I was there, and in the olden times, there was no pharmaceutical medicines in the Amazon. You couldn't get a hold of pharmaceutical medicines, very difficult and very expensive. And people out there didn't have money. So they relied on the plant medicines for their health and well-being. And the shaman acted like a doctor. And because the shaman doesn't have a doctor's training and hasn't trained as a doctor, it uses ayahuasca as that kind of that training, and you'd use the wisdom of ayahuasca to understand the sickness of that person, but would understand also alongside that all the benefits of all the plant medicines in the Amazon, and so would know very quickly which one would be the right one and why. So it would be a symbiotic relationship between the shaman and the ayahuasca together in order to help the person who had come and cure them. When I think of ayahuasca and do the medicine, I feel very nervous and queasy. Am I ready, or am I scared or not ready? Well, I mean, you should feel like that actually, because it's a terrifying thing to take, because once you take ayahuasca, you wake up and you can't go back to sleep. So, if you're ready to wake up, then taking ayahuasca is a good medicine. But what does it mean by ready to wake up? If you're really ready to change your life, if you're really ready to stand in your power and make the changes that are needed, and really are ready to break through those blockages and those conditionings that have given you your identity, then ayahuasca is the medicine for you. But if you still feel very identified with who you are, with how you are, then personally, I would do more self-work, work more, do more, until you are ready to really explode your world. Because really, that's what ayahuasca does. It explodes us from the inside out so that we can make the change. And that's what ayahuasca wants us to do. It wants us to wake up, to realize we are one with nature so that we can change our behavior. So can you take ayahuasca if you are unwell? Chronic fatigue. Yes, you can take ayahuasca if you're unwell, chronic fatigue. There are other better medicines, Cambo. If you've got chronic fatigue, I would definitely suggest looking at taking Cambo. This is a frog medicine taken from the tree frog. It has its poison secreted, and it's put in the arm, so you don't actually digest it, but it is your arm is, you make some burns on the arm and then you place it in the arm, and it kick-starts all your intestines, your peptides, your internal organs. This is a very powerful medicine for waking up our internal organs and systems. If you're chronically fatigued because you're depressed, unhappy, low, and your energies are low because of your mental state, then ayahuasca can help. But again, making sure with the right shaman, with the right care, with the right aftercare, so that your particular process is utilized so that you get the best healing for it and the best and get best care for it. But if you think you're going to take ayahuasca and suddenly get energized again, that's not how the plant medicines work. That's not how the master plant medicines work. They cannot give you anything. They cannot make you anything. It has to come from the inside out. If someone says they found the experience pleasant and either went to sleep or relaxed, does that mean they are giving low doses? As I would have expected to be quite tough and purging, but is it different for everyone? Also, would you recommend only going to the jungle and not doing it at a Western place? So, yes, if you fall asleep and it's pleasant, then you're not drinking it. It's not good. It's not strong medicine, and you're not taking enough of it. The ayahuasca, the whole point of ayahuasca is that it wakes you up and it jolts you out. If it's a nice, pleasant experience, then it's being taken recreationally. And in all the times I've taken ayahuasca, I've yet to see anyone have a pleasant and journey and fall asleep in it. Yeah. I mean, that's the power of it. But then the person themselves have to be fully committed to the journey and have done the right preparation. And I am seeing more and more that ayahuasca isn't really working as well as, and people aren't getting the full benefits of her. And I wonder whether this is because of her dilution. She's also starting to switch off. And some of the female shamans I've been working with have also told me this, that she's also starting to get tired of people drinking her and not doing the work that needs to get done in order to be the change. And so they keep drinking in the hope that it's all going to suddenly change miraculously. It is not going to change miraculously. Your life is not going to change miraculously unless you decide it does. Okay, so a plant cannot change your life miraculously. No plant medicine can do that. Only you can change your life miraculously. And only as a human can you take personal responsibility to change that and not expect it and not place that kind of expectation onto a plant medicine. I'm intrigued by the idea that the Amazon plant medicine is being sent to awaken us in the West. Are there not equally powerful indigenous plants? Oh, in the UK, yes, there are. But unfortunately, a lot of this knowledge was lost with the witches' pogroms of the 17th and 18th century, and 6 million women were murdered as witches, and so a lot of our herbal knowledge has been lost. Also, it's becoming much harder here. It's almost dying out, the herbal traditions and the knowledge of these really powerful master plant medicines. That's why, for me, cannabis is probably the most famous and the most powerful of all the master plant medicines here, for example, in the UK. But mandrake has also been very well known as a master plant medicine, and there are others. I haven't studied the English plant medicines. My training was in the Amazon, and that's where I started my journey. It wasn't here, but I know of some of herbalists that are working much more with plant medicines and master plant medicines. But the idea is that all master plant medicines are here to wake us up, whether they come from here or the Amazon. And mugwort also is a good one, but it's and also grows prolifically on the side of the road, but it works on lucid dreaming. But I wouldn't call it a master plant medicine because it doesn't, I don't feel, having taken it and been in it, shift consciousness to the levels and to the frequencies of plant medicines like ayahuasca, which actually completely take you out into into the other frequencies and actually have the power to shift DNA and help and shift you on a cellular level. That's peyote, ayahuasca, iboga, and also on level cannabis. What are your thoughts on mushrooms? For me, mushrooms are a fungi, not necessarily a plant. I think a fungi is slightly different to plants. The fungi are a different species, actually. For me, mushrooms are spores that float around the space, and they find planets to land on. I think they're here to also wake us up, definitely. Liberty cat mushrooms and other mushrooms, but certainly in this country, in the UK, liberty cat mushrooms are very powerful to shift consciousness, and obviously grow on Mother Earth. So they're here as our gift. And I also think that they're here to remind us of the beauty of the planet and to remind us how amazing this planet is, so that we really wake up and start reconnecting back in. But I wouldn't call them a master plant. I would call them a fungi. So I would class them as slightly different. Can children be helped by plant medicines if they are unwell? Well, yes, of course they can. Every plant medicine, every plant is a medicine. And what we're taking in pharmaceutical capsules is essentially the essence of a plant that has been synthesized. So something like, I don't know, like a very high percentage of pharmaceutical medicines actually come from the Amazon. The problem is we're not allowed to ingest the plant. And what we need is a shift in consciousness so we can get access and our sovereignty back to our plants, and we can grow our own plant medicines. Because if we grew our own plant medicines, we wouldn't need the pharmaceutical industries. We wouldn't need the amount of sickness, and their profits would take a nosedive. But unfortunately, because of the whole politicized system that we're living in right now, that has dominating our planet right now, we're in a situation where it's becoming less and less easy to access plant medicines. And we are seeing, and I will talk about this with the cannabis episode, is it's a very dangerous situation now where very soon they're going to take over the cannabis, and they're going to synthesize cannabis. So our access to whole plant medicine through cannabis will be gone, and that is going to be a very dangerous situation for human health on this planet. So this is not only about waking us up, but also about our sovereignty over our medicine, over our health and well-being, and over having choice. Because if people want to take pharmaceutical medicines, I don't have any issue with that. If you want to go to your doctor and take pharmaceutical medicines, go ahead. But I think there needs to be a very important choice, that if you don't want to and you want to take a whole plant medicine, you want to go straight to the source and eat plants to heal you, you should have every right to grow your own plant. You should have every right to ingest the plants, and we should have the choice. But to make it prohibited and to herd everyone into the pharmaceutical industry because they are controlling the politicized system is coming to a point where it's having huge detrimental repercussions, not only for our health and well-being, but for the kind of planet we're leaving for future generations. How to work through paranoia when it comes? What would you say? It depends on the plant. So I'll talk a bit about, if you're talking about cannabis, we'll talk about that much more in the cannabis webinar. Paranoia is within you, is within all of us, and so it can get triggered. But if you're with a shaman that understands that, then you go through it, you face it. But you need to know that the shaman is strong enough to hold it, to hold the energy, to hold the to hold you in your journey through it, so that you can face whatever it is that's holding you back and pass you through. So I would say it's all about the person who's helping you through the process. And if you are feeling paranoid, and that's why I'm saying, if you go to big ceremonies and there isn't someone there who's holding space for everybody, it can get triggered and leave a tremor within. So what is your opinion on participating in a Santo Daime ritual? Well, like I said before, ayahuasca should be taken very, very occasionally. So having made it into a rite, a sacred ritual that's taken every week in a church capacity and Christianized, obviously doesn't sit with my shamanic beliefs or practices. I come from a traditional ayahuasca Peruvian shamanism background. So I went into the deep, dark Amazon and trained with a shaman there in the traditional way. And for me, that's the way it needs to be done. Because when it's taken every week and has been Christianized, then it can lose its deep connection to Mother Earth and to nature, and to reconnecting us back to nature. Also, one thing about the ceremonies that we do in the Amazon is that we go very deeply into the Icaros and silence. So you really have to face yourself. There is no distractions. There is no dancing. It's in complete black darkness. And so there's no running away, and you have to face whatever demons, whatever darkness and whatever shadows within. And while it can be terrifying, it can also be, and is, very, very liberating, because you finally get an opportunity to face yourself in a very safe and secure way. So If everyone's got any more questions, let me know. I'm just going through. Okay, so I don't seem to have any more questions. So we've just had a Scorpio full moon, which has been very wobbly and very intense and very emotional. That was yesterday. So if you're feeling a little bit raw, I do have some tickets left for Saturday's cacao ceremony. So I work with cacao in a deep sacred ceremony. So I take you on a shamanic journey to meet the cacao spirit so that you can find your own inner answers using the medicine. So if any of you are interested or would like to get some cacao medicine and start feeling more blissful and calm and peaceful after this very intense week, please go to cacaoceremonies.co.uk and you can book the tickets there. There are a few tickets available. It's about 4.5 hours on Saturday afternoon, and it will give you an opportunity to integrate, to dive deep. And for those of you who haven't tried plant medicines, cacao is a brilliant medicine for opening the heart, for releasing stress and anxiety, for calming everything down, for giving you clarity, and for helping you overcome any real emotional stress that you might have been feeling, and leaves you very blissful and high. In fact, for me, cacao is the perfect medicine for the West because we are all so stressed. We are all so we're so fed so much fear and anxiety that actually it is good just to switch off and go dive deep and hear what your own inner wisdom and your own inner thoughts are. So that's this Saturday, the 13th of May from 12:30 to 5 p.m. at cacaoceremonies.co.uk. Thank you everybody for coming online and sharing this webinar with me, and for your patience at the beginning. My next webinar is going to be next Wednesday. And that's going to be ayahuasca, a higher intelligence. And so what I'm going to be talking about next week is ayahuasca and the real purpose on it. That's Wednesday, the 17th of May, and you can register. You'll be auto-registered if you've already registered here. But that's going to be next week, and I we'll be looking at the power of ayahuasca as a higher intelligence, because and the background behind it and the history, and coming from the Peruvian ayahuasca shamanism tradition, which I think is getting lost in this very Western discourse. We're not hearing really what the traditional ayahuasca shamans of the past had, their visions and their ideas of ayahuasca. So I will be sharing that next Wednesday. So I hope you can tune in then. Thank you so much, everyone, for the questions. Please do join us next week, and please come with your questions. I really enjoy answering the questions. It gives me an opportunity to know what kind of information you're looking for. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this webinar, and I look forward to connecting with you next week. Thank you again, and have a great rest of the week and a lovely weekend.